All right, we have Taylor Fore with me, and he is the National Sales Manager for the Coeur d'Alene Resort Golf and Spa, right? Did I say it all right?
Absolutely. You said
Awesome.
it right.
Is awesome. So he has been working there for a while since I've known him, but could you give us a little bit of a background on where you're from, how did you get here, and what you're doing now?
Sure. First of all, thanks for having me. It's awesome to see the success you're having with the podcast. So I'm just thrilled to be a part of it. So thank you.
Of course.
Originally, I'm from Fort Worth, Texas. I've two brothers and a sister, so I've got a large family down there. And we grew up playing sports. I was fortunate enough to get to play college football, and so that was a unique experience out in East Texas at Texas A&M University of Commerce. Played football there, and then also had the opportunity to serve as a student body president. And that was kind of the first time to get to see what skills an athlete learns, leadership, discipline, accountability, how that turns into, transitions into the real world. And so that was really a unique experience for me. We had about 10,000 students and really enjoyed that role. And then I transitioned into a career there. I was a development officer for athletics. So I did fundraising, worked for the foundation for the university, and it was great. I loved my time in East Texas, and it led me to meet my wife, or my future wife, Jenna. Was DeLong. She's from Coeur d'Alene. We met. She was a softball coach, and so we met down there and decided we want to start a family. And it's funny, we were talking about different places to kind of move to get our career going, and it's hard. We were both working in college athletics, and that's a demanding lifestyle. And we visited up here in May of 2014, and by July 1st, we lived here. So we
Easy,
moved up.
easy choice, huh?
Yeah, I refer to it as the recruiting trip. So whenever I came in May, I got to see all the hot spots of Coeur d'Alene, so it was great.
Mhm.
And yeah, I mean, it's just a great place to raise a family. We got immediately connected with Real Life Ministries, and I've served there at the church. And yeah, just got started in real estate. Her dad, Mike DeLong, was worked at the Coeur d'Alene Resort for a while, and then got into real estate. So he helped us get our real estate license. My wife still practices, does real estate. And I worked at NIC for a little bit, and then had the opportunity to come over to the resort in a sales role. And I'd worked, again, my background was in nonprofits and fundraising, mainly for higher education schools. Um, so the resort was different for me. It was, kind of like a campus with all the different entities that we have, but it was different. And so I was our group golf sales manager. Loved it. I loved getting to talk to folks about golf, coming and playing the floating green. It was something that's on a lot of people's bucket lists. And so I got to be the advocate and, the ambassador, really connecting those dreams with an opportunity to come here. And so really liked that role. It grew, and I developed into a director of golf sales role. I helped train our reservation staff, help with the marketing for golf. And so really just kind of expanded that role, and again, loved it. And then recently in January, I was transitioned and promoted into a national sales role. And so I work with clients that are in insurance business or out of the Northeast or the Midwest. So I work with different clients and companies to try to bring large conventions and conferences here to the resort. So super great opportunity. And then in the meantime, I've also got really connected with the community. And so I'm a member of the core group. I'm a wish granter for Make-A-Wish Foundation, and lead a life group, and coach youth sports at Real Life Ministries. So
Yeah.
love being a part of our community here, and fortunate to be in my role.
You got quite the resume. You got a lot going on there. So let's go back to football. How do you feel about all this football stuff happening this fall?
Well, that's a loaded question.
I know,
I
I
think,
know how I feel, and I'm having a really rough time with it. But a fellow or someone that used to play football, college, especially, I bet this is bringing emotions, especially like if you put yourself in a freshman's position that's about to go play football. I can't imagine what they're going through.
absolutely. Yeah, I feel for all the kids. They train hard. It's hard to play college sports, any sport, whether it's football or basketball or soccer, volleyball, golf, run track. It doesn't matter. All those sports are very hard to get to compete at any level, whether it's Division III, NAIA, or Division I. And so a lot of the media, it reflects, the big schools. That's where a lot of the TV time goes to. But even though the guys and girls that are playing at younger schools, it's heartbreaking. Personally, I think that there's kind of a missed opportunity with the NCAA and with the college athletes. I think the Pac-12 came out with the students kind of did a demand letter about COVID and about other things that were going on, and I think that was really just a missed opportunity. I think student athletes have an opportunity to have a voice through the NCAA, through it's called the SAC, Student Athlete Advisory Committee, and it was unfortunate that those wishes weren't presented through that platform, and they were just kind of done rogue. And as you can see, it led to almost an immediate cancellation of all fall sports. And so I think that's a reflection of that. When you send a demand letter in any business, when you get a demand letter, that makes the other side have to make a decision quickly. And so I think that led to the immediate cancellation of a lot of these the sports, the Pac-12 and the Big Ten. I think other conferences are trying to navigate the waters. You see the players from the ACC coming out and saying that they want to play. And I respect the conferences for looking into it all that they can. Ultimately, I don't know. Unfortunately, I think a lot of the virus is very dangerous and it could be very sickening. But I think because of the election that's coming, unfortunately, I don't think anyone's going to get to play, because if you play sports right now, it seems like you're supporting one side. And whether that's the case or not, I just think there's too much political optics when, the president's running for president and he comments on it. I think it just makes it very political. And so unfortunately, I think there's going to be a lot of student athletes disappointed that they don't get to compete this year. And it's unfortunate. I mean,
oh yeah,
you don't get those years back. And it's hard to take a season off any sport and play, not playing football for a year. I think personally, the notion of playing in the spring is not realistic for football. I mean, first of all, a lot of these campuses, they share facilities. Yeah. So they don't have unlimited weight rooms. They don't have unlimited indoor space. And so it's not really fair to say, okay, football is going to play in the spring now, so baseball and basketball and volleyball, you now have to, not get to practice. And so I think that's part of the problem, whether there's a problem. And I think asking kids, if you're concerned about player safety, getting kids to play 2 seasons in 8 months is just not realistic. So, but again, it's unfortunate, and I hope they figure something out. But right now, I just feel like the student athletes should communicate what they want, and I don't feel like they've done that thus far.
Yeah, it's hard to see that when I saw that, because I'm a huge fan of like the Bobcats over in Montana State, and I saw the Big Sky was just canceled, and then the SEC, they're just doing like in-conference games, and it's just, and then who goes to the game, who doesn't go to the game, can you watch it? Like there's just so many, especially like in the South, like they breathe, eat, live football, and then they're like, wait, what do we do? You know what I mean? So
totally. There's so much information now that you don't know what's, everything's, I guess, true, but you got some states that are starting up high school football and they're testing their athletes at a certain level. And, there's just so much information out there. And there's 2 doctors that will say that it's safe and one that say that it's not safe. And this one's from this, higher end school, and this one's from this higher end school. So then it's like, well, who's better? It's just
exactly
it's so political that who knows?
Yeah, you're like, I don't know who to even believe right now. It's just everything changes instantly, like on the daily. Yes, like the CDC says one thing and then it's like changes. So it's a lot. But we could go on and on about this. Let's talk more about you. Let's a few fun questions. Since moving to Coeur d'Alene, what is your favorite go-to restaurant here in town?
Ooh, my favorite go-to restaurant. There's a lot of good ones. As an employee of the resort, I would suggest all resort restaurants at all times are great places to eat.
Exactly. I mean, Beverly's View, you can't get anything better than that.
That's right. The golf course has a great view for their restaurant. Cedars has a great salad bar, among other things. The fish is good as well. But I do have 2 small kids, and none of those places are places that are the best for my wild kids. And so seems like we go to Capone's a bunch. It's close to the house. We can sit outside if we're allowed. No one cares. And we just stumbled across Bell's out in North Hayden on Lancaster. And so that's definitely a must get.
That brunch is so good.
Mm-hmm.
It's no joke. So what is one piece of advice you would give a younger you?
Ooh, a younger me. Probably be just to be respectful to people. I don't think as a young person I didn't understand interactions and how you work with people and how you act, and how that people don't forget about that. And so that opportunity for whether it's a first impression or just in general. And I think that that's one thing that especially now because of social media. Whenever we were growing up, I'm assuming we're about the same age, social media wasn't really, I didn't even have, we didn't have Facebook. I mean, I think, what was it? MySpace was kind of coming along.
Yep.
And so, fortunately, I didn't do anything. We didn't do a lot. I didn't do anything that put myself in a position where I couldn't excel in a career or future because of decisions that I made. But I think looking back, that would be advice that I'd give myself, is that, anything that you post or that you do, it stays with you. It doesn't go away. And so just making sure that you don't jeopardize a future because of a decision that you make, when you're young.
Yeah. I know a lot of people, like, if you're hiring someone, it's something you actually go look at their social media, or even college athletes. I know some friends that are into, like, that are coaches and stuff, and they go look at their social media before they even recruit them, because they're like, is this person, yeah, they could be the best athlete, but if they're, doing really bad things on the weekends or after practice, it's not someone you want on your team.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So with that, what kind of kid were you like growing up?
We played sports all the time. So there was four of us. It seems like we were always on the road. My dad and my dad started a machine shop
For
out of his
boys?
garage. No, I'm sorry, three boys and one
Okay.
girl. My sister is the baby. So we were always at a ball field. We played, football, basketball, baseball. We were always going, going, going. My dad started a machine shop out of his garage, and he's really grown that into over 300 employees now. And so watching his blue collar work ethic really instilled in us. And so we were, I would say we were very active, but we were very focused. We didn't really party. We didn't do any of that stuff. We just trained and we shot hoops and we ran and we played football. That's just what we did all the time. And down in Texas, that's kind of how we're raised too. I mean,
Oh yeah.
football is very important.
Oh yeah, I've been to Texas, I've been to Dallas for work. I've done some other stuff, but I drove through Texas on my last van trip, and I went to the grocery store. I went in the grocery store, this little teeny town. I remember the name of it. And my boyfriend's still in the van, and I come in, and this lady's, I go in and get some stuff, and I come out, and I was like, oh, I can grab the cart and go out. And she's like, no, 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 no. We got this. We can help you. And I was like, this other guy got to push his own cart out. But I was like, whatever. She helps load it. And I was telling him, I was like, they wouldn't let me push my cart. He's like, you're in Texas. Like, this is how they do this. They like make sure they take care of you. Like, you're a woman and they want to, like, I was like, everyone was so polite. And I was like, this Texas people, they're raised really right.
Well, thanks. That's different when I moved up here. It's funny. I still open the door for my wife. She hates it. She thinks it's stupid that she can open the door for
Oh,
herself. But Brookshire's is a grocery store down there that they'll push your cart out for you. They don't let you touch your cart, going to the parking lot. But even saying yes, sir, yes, ma'am, no, sir, no, ma'am, up here, people, really get offended sometimes by it. They think that it's sarcasm or whatever. But yeah, it's just how we were raised down there, and thankful for that.
yeah, it's so true. Cause my boyfriend's has some friends down there that I met, and they, like, the mom she was telling her daughter, like, she said, oh yeah. And she goes, no, no, you say yes, ma'am. And so, like, these kids were trained to say yes, ma'am and no, ma'am. And I was like, wow, this is awesome. I loved it. And like their cute little accents too. So
Well, and it's different now. I mean, I was always taught to respect positions, like for coaches, use that as an example. Whether you like the coach or you didn't like the coach, like, you respected the position that they had or the title that they had. And so I from what I see up here, I don't know if it's up here or just, on a national standpoint, we're losing sight of that respect for those positions, whether it's the presidency or it's governors or whatever. I think, unfortunately, we're kind of missing that. We're losing out on that.
oh yeah, and I think that's it's a generation thing too. I think it's not being taught to respect, or even just, even if we don't agree, we still have to respect people and like treat people kindly. So
Totally.
the South is still holding on to that for a little bit longer. That's what I felt every time I go down there. I feel like everyone waves. I went running and everyone's waving at me, and I was like, I don't know you. And I was like, they're being polite and nice, and I'm like, okay, see.
Well, I'm glad to know you had a good experience down
Yes,
there.
I did. So what is one life lesson that you have learned the very hard way?
Life lesson that I've learned the hard way. It's got to be parenting.
I bet.
uh, my wife and I, try hard, and we read a lot, and we seek advice and counsel from different folks, but it's probably just how to navigate the waters of raising a young person, a young woman, and a young man in this day and age, and what that looks like. And I
Yeah.
would say that on the surface, parents get a lot of wins on Instagram. I always do hashtag dad wins when I get my kids to sleep, because if you're a parent, that getting your kid to sleep is a huge win. But there's tons of dad fails too, and it's just trying to communicate and articulate what you need and want, and how do you navigate those waters. And so I think from a life lesson standpoint, continuing to evolve and figure out what that looks like, and how do you show compassion and discipline to a 4-year-old,
Yeah.
where a lot of folks would say, well, they're too young. But if I feel like if my wife and I don't teach them the right things, the rights and wrongs, then who's going to?
Yeah.
And so I would say that's definitely the life lesson that we're going through right now, is just figuring out how do we, how do we show respect in bedtime when she doesn't want to go to sleep, or when the 18-month-old throws a fit because he doesn't get, the cheese it when he wants it or whatever. So
I know
important stuff to have.
they've got it rough. They've got it real rough.
They do, yeah.
So if you so say if you had a billboard and you could put anything you wanted on it, what would it say or what would be on this billboard?
Oh, billboard. I would probably say, I always tell my kids this: being nice is a choice. So I'd probably say, be nice. It's a choice. And I think that's one thing that sounds silly, and that it's can be overused, but it's true, and it's for everybody. It's not just for my kids. It's for me. It's for you. It's for my wife. It's for everybody. Being nice is a choice, and no matter what someone does to you or how they treat you, you can choose whether you're going to be nice to them or not. And so that would be my
Oh,
billboard.
it'd be perfect. I mean, kindness. That's what I keep telling people. I was like, we're all going through a rough time right now, whether emotionally, physically, whatever, maybe you lost your job, maybe you're having depression, or maybe you just are tired of being cooped up and you're feeling like with the mask and everything going on. Just be kind to people. Everyone's dealing with it differently. And it's just be nice. Like, we teach kids to do that. Like, just be nice to them. And
Sure.
and I think that's what a lot of people just need to like take a deep breath and just be kind. We all are dealing with it differently.
For sure. And no one can, no matter what someone does to you, it's still your choice whether you're nice or not. So someone cuts you off on the street, you can give them the bird, you can honk at them, or you can just be nice and slow down and let them come on over.
Yeah, my mom is one of the kindest women you'll ever meet, but put her in a car and someone cuts her off. I'm like, Mom, and like the stuff that comes out of her mouth, and you meet her and you're like, gosh, she's such a nice woman. And then you get her behind the wheel and I was like, road rage.
Well, no one's perfect, Tabitha. Come on.
I think it's because no one can hear her. So she's like, feels like things get it out. What is the best compliment you've ever received?
The best compliment I've ever received. I would say there's two. This one's kind of weird, but first and foremost, again, as a parent, just anytime my kid does something that other people recognize as respectful, that to me is the most compliment thing. We talk about being nice, but really just being respectful. And so that's a huge compliment to Jen and I whenever we get feedback like that. And then another compliment I would say is that whenever I was playing sports, even growing up, I never really, I wouldn't say try, but I didn't really apply myself that well to the academic side of it all. I mean, I was a fine student, don't get me wrong, but I never really applied myself to academics like I did athletics. And so whenever I was pursuing my master's degree, I ended up was recognized as academic player of the year for the conference. And that to me was something that I would never in a million years think that I could accomplish, because I wasn't that smart. And so for me, like, that was a huge compliment that I was recognized as that, because I, again, got to see all the skills that you learn as an athlete, how you transition it into something else, whether it's work or whether it's academics or whether it's being a parent. You're built, the foundation's there to succeed in anything, as long as you're utilizing, that skill set. So
I think it's a huge compliment for it. Yeah, especially that's not somewhere like my brothers, they grew up like they could just wake up and take a test, and I was the one that had to study. But like, to recognize as an athlete, because this is like, athletes, you have to go to practice, you have to study, you have to do this, and there's some social life, there's family, there's all these things. And so to like keep a good grades and keep on that, and academically plus play sports, and college sports are way more demanding. That's a full-time job plus going to school. And now I can't imagine being a child, because of what kids are like. They have to do AAU, they have to do team, they have to do all of these things to be good at sports, to be even recognized. I can't and keep on school and do something musically. I can't imagine.
yeah, it's crazy. And the instant, again, social media, the instant gratification and the success and the perception of success that people have through those platforms, it's going to definitely change sports and just the lives of kids growing up.
Yeah. So who's your biggest hero or inspiration?
Well, it's got to be my parents, first of all. I mean, for my dad to start a company out of his garage, and I think he's 42 years into it now, and just grinds away, and has done a lot of good things for business, but really just he builds helicopter parts for the military. And so he's just the character that he has when it comes to that line of work and the things that he does. Just something that I mean, he's taught me so much about being just a good man and a good person that he's definitely someone that I look up to. And then there was a dean whenever I was in college that he's the one that really made me realize, like, you could, all the success you have in athletics, you can, move to other areas. You're not just an athlete. And that to me was like eye opening, and it was really encouraging and really set me on the path that I'm on. So I would say his name's Brian. So I would say Brian and my father for sure are the two biggest mentors or inspirations for me.
Yeah, that's such a true statement too. Athletes get pegged as like, you're only an athlete, and but you learn so much, especially with team sports. You learn so much about yourself and so much about life. Is there a like moment, whether it's sports or not, is there a moment that you can look back and you learn the most about yourself?
Oh, there were so many. I mean, I learned a lot about myself because I got to look at athletics from a different side of the aisle, if you will. So as an athlete, you know what you get or don't get, and that's how you like are focused on. You know that we don't have enough of this, or we don't get enough of that, or this team gets whatever. And I think whenever I was in the student body role, it was like, wait a minute, athletes are getting all these things, but here, this, the international students need this, and the sororities and fraternities need this. And so it was really just an opportunity to look at what the bigger picture of things. And it's really helped me now to look at the bigger picture. So whenever I'm working with the client, like obviously it's important to know what the resort has or needs, and then what the client needs, and then looking at it from a bigger, standpoint. Yeah. And so it's really helped me look at things from a different perspective. I don't know if that answers your question or not, but.
Oh, that's great. That's perfect. No, that's it. It is. It's like you can see the bigger picture instead of focusing just on you and your sports and your little bubble, when that's just a minor thing, especially in college when you're looking at a huge picture, or anything like with our jobs. You now have to look at so many more components now that you work. There's golf, there's conferences, and there's all this stuff that you have to like coordinate and do. And you have to really, and I like that you goes into the client's needs, as there's so many different levels in making that work. Sure. So with your community stuff, let's go to there is, you're part of the core group, and you give back. What are ways that, like, if anyone's listening, is there a way that they can help or get involved or do anything for any of the community or nonprofits or anything that you're involved with?
Sure. Well, the core group's just an amazing organization. And it's a group of young men and young professionals that want to, we say, get shit done. And so we roll our sleeves up, and we've helped build playgrounds and different things in the community. Our biggest project that we do is we sell ducks and do the raffle, but we do that so we could, that's our only fundraiser. And we generate those funds because we build lockers in schools. Yeah. And so we meet with school districts, and we meet with elementary schools, middle schools, high schools, and put those lockers in. And it's not just a locker like in a weight room or in a locker room, like that. It's really an opportunity for these kids that don't have socks and shoes or pens. They go to this safe space that we've helped provide, and they can get that. And so that's huge to us. We're very passionate about it. We usually do 2 a year, and we issue them to schools. And the community is great because the Excel Foundation raffles off the opportunity to, for naming rights for that. And so we're helping the Excel Foundation raise money. And then again, we're working with different donors in town to put these lockers up for the ultimate goal, just to help kids in our community that need it. They don't have a coat. Well, go to this little locker and see if there's something there for you. And so we've expanded that. We do a annual breakfast with the school leaders. So we've got folks from Coeur d'Alene, Post Falls, and we're actually branching out a little bit to the north. And we bring everybody together here at the resort, and we share best practices. And there's certain communities that have a surplus of socks, and certain that really need underwear. And so just an opportunity for us all to get together and share ideas about what's going on. And so, I would just say help from that standpoint. When the duck derby comes around each year, if you see anybody or want to buy some ducks and have a chance, it's fun. We number them off, put them in the river, and we float them around Silverwood, and then it's great. We've got about 1,500 ducks usually that are, well, maybe even more than that this year. So
yeah, I was like, you guys did really well, even with everything happening. I know you had to push the duck derby back, but I saw the videos and stuff for it, and it looked awesome. It looked like there was a lot of ducks in those little Silverwood, like, is it the lazy river? Is that
Yep. The lazy river. Yeah. The guys in the core group have really grown too. I mean, Shane Greenfield, I got to give him a shout out. He's really expanded the look for the core group. So he's got his drone out there and helps us promote that race. So that's definitely fun. We've also, when COVID hit back in March, we really got together and said, hey, what can we do to help? And so we created a task force, And there was guys, I want to say between 15 to 20 guys committed to this task force. And so we created basically a hotline. People could call and say, you know, elderly people that wasn't safe for them to leave. They could call in or email and say, hey, I really need to get groceries. I really need to get, you know, whatever the need was. And if it was, there are certain things we couldn't do. But for the most part, we would organize it. Guys would go pick up the groceries, deliver them at the house. We met with the local hospitals and Panhandle Health to figure out what could we do that was safe. And so, I mean, we helped serve a ton of people in our community just by doing that, answering the call when people needed it. And so that was really cool. Again, it's great to be a part of a group that's just willing to do that. You know, these guys all own, run, or high level, you know, business folks in our community, and they're stopping what they're doing to help out in that capacity. And that's just a couple of things that we do. You know, we've also got into the Make-A-Wish. When I was a student athlete, I got to experience that from helping out. And so I think right now there's 8 or 9 of us that are helping grant wishes in Coeur d'Alene. And Make-A-Wish has been a great foundation, I think, nationally, but there's a need for adults to help with that granting process. You know, think about it. You know, you're a nonprofit. They have plenty of money. They have a lot of need. They just need that grantor to help facilitate that need. And so for us, again, it was a get our hands dirty type of organization. And so we've excelled in serving in that capacity. You know, it's not always huge successes because if you know about Make-A-Wish, you know, obviously those young people are at a rough part of their life. And so when it works out, it's great because just the smile and the joy that you're able to bring them has been amazing. So I think I'm now working on my 4th wish student. So it's been great. I love doing it and love being a part of it. Something that we'll, as a family, will do. So my wife and I eventually when the kids get a little bit older, it'll be an opportunity for us to show our kids how we can serve back in the community too.
That's a perfect life lesson you can give your kid. It's just showing that feeling of giving something without needing to receive anything.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. You are fantastic and keep doing great things in our community and great things at the resort. If anyone needs to get a hold of you for any reason, is there a good way to reach out to you?
Sure. Email, it's Tfore, Tfore at cdaresort.com. And then my Instagram handle, I don't know if you're into that, but it's at T4 golf. So at T4 golf. Thanks, Tabitha. I appreciate it.
Thanks for listening to Keeping Tabs. I'm Tabitha Kroc, and every Monday I release a podcast about different community members here in North Idaho. And then we end the weeks on Fridays with a podcast about the things I'm passionate about: outdoors, adventures, sports, the van life, and even current events. So if you like what you heard, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube, Spotify, or iTunes. Thank you again. Now go be kind and do something great.